Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into the future of business reporting. And it's interesting because it's not just about the numbers anymore, right?
Yeah, it's definitely more than just those quarterly earnings calls.
Right. We're talking about sustainability and how it's moving from like a side project to something that's as important as the bottom line.
It's true. Investors are really starting to understand that a company's impact on the environment and society, it's not just PR fluff anymore. It's about long-term value, really digging into how those profits are being made.
Exactly. It's like we're shifting from show me the money to show me how you're making that money responsibly. And the really interesting thing is, this isn't just some trend, right? It's becoming very real with these new global standards, IFRS, S1, and S2.
Yeah, think of them as kind of like, I don't know, a rising tide. But for standardized sustainability reporting, the whole idea is to make it so investors can compare how companies are doing on sustainability just as easily as they analyze financial statements. A level playing field.
So are we saying no more of those vague sustainability reports that sound good on the surface but don't really give you the full story?
Yeah, exactly. IFRS, S1, and S2, they're all about clear, comparable data. Investors can finally see which companies are actually integrating sustainability into their operations, walking the walk.
I bet some companies are a little nervous about this level of transparency though, right? What's the incentive to get on board early, especially if it means they might have to completely overhaul how they do their reporting?
Oh, I'm sure. But think about it this way. When a company voluntarily adopts these standards, they're sending a really strong signal to investors. We're proactive, we're transparent, we're thinking long-term. That's huge in today's market.
It's like they're getting ahead of the curve. Instead of waiting for regulations to force their hand, they can actually differentiate themselves, right?
Yeah.
Become a leader and attract investors who care about profit and positive impact.
Exactly. And the good news is these standards aren't designed to be impossible to meet. This whole concept of phased compliance, it recognizes that not every company is going to have this amazingly detailed sustainability data right from the start.
Phased compliance. That's interesting. Can you unpack that a bit? What does that actually look like in the real world?
Sure. Let's say you have a company that's just starting to figure out how to track its carbon footprint, right? With phased compliance, they can focus on reporting their Scope 1 and 2 emissions first, which are directly tied to their own activities. And then as they get better at collecting data and their systems improve, they can gradually start incorporating Scope 3 emissions, which include things like their supply chain and the entire life cycle of their products.
So it's about meeting companies where they're at, giving them a manageable way to get started, and then build from there. Okay, this is all really interesting, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. This all seems very connected to good risk management. Like, it's one thing to report the data, but you need to have the systems in place to actually manage these sustainability issues as part of your everyday business, right?
You're absolutely right. And that is where integrated risk management, or IRM, comes in.
Okay, so IRM, it's not just another acronym to add to the pile.
No, it's important. It's actually essential. You could even call it the secret sauce to making these new reporting standards not only manageable, but something that can really benefit a business.
All right. I'm intrigued, I've got to admit. Break this secret sauce down for us. For those of us who haven't spent a lot of time thinking about risk management, what exactly is IRM and how does it all connect to this whole world of sustainability reporting?
So IRM, it's really about connecting the dots. It's about taking a step back and looking at all the risks a company might face: financial, operational, reputational, the whole shebang, and understanding how they all fit together, especially these days with so much focus on environmental and social issues.
So instead of different departments just kind of, doing their own thing and checking boxes, it's about having this bigger picture view of risk across the entire company.
Exactly. And that's actually where IRM becomes really powerful when you're thinking about IFRS S1 and S2. Think about risk identification and assessment, for example. With a really strong IRM system, companies can treat sustainability risks with the same kind of rigor and analysis as they would any other business-critical threat.
So it's not just about saying, oh yeah, extreme weather, that could be bad for our supply chain.
Okay.
It's about actually using IRM to figure out, okay, how likely is that to happen? What's the potential impact? What can we do to prepare?
Exactly. And what
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
Think is really interesting is that with IFRS 2, companies aren't just expected to lay out all the risks. They have to be upfront about the uncertainty involved in measuring those risks. That's where IRM's focus on data-driven decision-making is so important. It helps companies be transparent, about what they know, what they don't know, and how they're working to improve their understanding over time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being honest about the learning process, which, now that I'm thinking about it, seems to tie in with that phased compliance approach we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand. Remember our example of the companies starting with their Scope 1 and 2 emissions? Well, IRM is what gives them that framework for figuring out which risks are the most important to tackle first. It helps them focus on the areas where they have the most reliable data and where they can have the biggest impact right off the bat.
It's like, I don't know, building a house. You wouldn't start with choosing fancy light fixtures before you even have a foundation, right? You focus on the essentials and build up from there.
Perfect analogy. And just like with building a house, transparency throughout the whole process is key. Investors understand that this is a journey for companies, but they want to see that they're taking concrete steps in the right direction. And that's where IRM can really provide that roadmap.
Okay, so we've talked about how IRM can help with identifying, assessing, and prioritizing these risks, especially in those initial stages. But what about the long game? How does IRM help companies stay ahead of the curve with their sustainability reporting, especially as these standards continue to change and evolve?
That's where the continuous improvement part of IRM comes in. And this is really vital for truly embracing what IFRS is all about.
Continuous improvement. It's like the only thing that stays the same is that things are always changing, especially with sustainability, right? New data, new best practices popping up all the time.
It is. And the thing about IRM is it's not like you do it once and you're done. It's about building that culture of, constantly learning and adapting within the company. And that's how you stay ahead of the game with reporting requirements and what investors are looking for.
So as companies gather more data, as they understand these sustainability risks better, they can use IRM to fine-tune their approach, improve what they're sharing, and actually demonstrate how they're making progress.
Exactly. It's like building a feedback loop into the system, right? Everything you learn from reporting actually feeds back into making your risk management stronger and ultimately your sustainability performance better.
Okay, so for anyone listening who's thinking, all right, I'm convinced, where do I start? What are some actual concrete steps they can take? How do you build that bridge between sustainability and IRM?
A lot of companies might actually be further along than they think. A good first step is to just take a look at what they're already doing with climate-related disclosures, especially if they're using frameworks like TCFD.
The Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures.
Yeah, exactly. So they can use those TCFD reports as a starting point and begin integrating those climate risks into that broader IRM framework.
So it's not starting from scratch. It's building on what's already there.
Yeah.
What about companies that are just, dipping their toes into the water with sustainability reporting? Any advice for them?
I would say don't wait for everything to be perfect. Remember, this whole phased compliance thing, it's there for a reason. Start with the areas where your data is already good and focus on the risks that are most relevant to your specific business.
And to go back to something we've talked about throughout this whole deep dive, transparency is key. Be upfront with your investors about where you're at, what steps you're taking, even the challenges you're facing along the way.
100%. Investors get it. This is a journey. And they're much more likely to be on board with companies that are open, honest, and show that commitment to continuous improvement.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. It feels like we're at this pivotal moment, like when financial reporting first became standardized,
Totally. This shift towards standardized sustainability reporting, it's a really big deal. It could change everything about how businesses think about risk, how they measure success, even just how they talk about their value to the world.
It's like we're moving to this future where sustainability isn't just a separate section in a report. It's woven into the DNA of how companies operate.
And it's not just about doing the right thing. It's about realizing that sustainability, it can drive innovation, it can drive growth, it's good for business.
It's about progress for everyone, people, and the planet, and even for long-term profitability.
Well said. The companies that really embrace that see sustainability as an opportunity, those are the ones that are going to succeed in the long run.
So for everyone listening, here's something to think about. What if we treated those sustainability reports with the same level of importance as those quarterly earnings calls that dominate the news? How would that change things? How would that change the face of business as we know it?
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the RiskTech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.